Hey, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rituraj, and I am going to be presenting this wonderful seminar on Grafana. We're going to talk about DevOps. We're going to talk about very interesting things on Grafana as a monitoring tool. We're going to have a look at Grafana as a monitoring tool. Before I actually jump down to what Grafana is, what are the features, let's quickly look at the agenda for this session. Yeah, we're going to have a look at continuous monitoring in DevOps. I will introduce to Grafana as a monitoring tool, right? Getting started with Grafana, Grafana dashboard and variables. And if possible, we will look at some portion of hands-on on Grafana, right? Perfect. As informed earlier, for all your training certification needs, Edureka is the on-site and mostly sought after platform. Let's begin. Continuous monitoring in DevOps, right? So there are these phases in a DevOps lifecycle. There are various phases like continuous, right? You have continuous development, you have continuous integration, continuous testing, continuous deployment, and continuous monitoring that constitute the DevOps lifecycle. This is where the birth of Grafana really happened. So we'll have to discuss about this. And as of now, continuous development is simply a phase that involves planning and coding of the software. The vision of the project is usually decided during the planning phase. That's what continuous development is, right? It is an integral part of, all of these phases are an integral part of the DevOps life cycle. The entire life cycle is broken down into these phases, and this bits and pieces is what we call as a DevOps life cycle. Correct? So continuous development is basically that phase where the coding, the planning happens, isn't it? Continuous development followed by continuous integration, which is the most core important piece, continuous testing, continuous deployment, and continuous monitoring, where we will look at Grafana in detail. Yeah. Now, continuous development, if I have to talk about before we touch upon monitoring, is simply a phase that involves planning and coding of the software, and the vision of the project is usually decided during the planning phase, right? And the developers begin developing the code for the application. This is where it is. Now, there are no DevOps tools that are required for the planning, but yes, there are tools for maintaining the code. Like you have Git, you have GitHub, right? All of these tools are made available to you. They are part of the DevOps life cycle. They're part of the DevOps life cycle, right? And on the other hand, continuous integration is the stage which is the heart of the entire DevOps life cycle. Heart. So you plan it, you make use of version control systems like Git and GitHub, and you followed by which you have continuous integration, which is the heart, right? Which is the main phase of your DevOps lifecycle, right? It is basically a software development practice in which developers require to commit changes to the source code more frequently, right? Now, this may be on a daily or a weekly basis, but every commit that is built will allow you to detect problems if they are present in the code, right? So you have these developers here. They are using tools in the continuous integration phase. They are committing changes on a daily, weekly, or sometimes even on an hourly basis. Sometimes even on an hourly basis. Yeah. And if the problems occur, not only, I mean, what basically happens is all these changes are committed on a continuous basis. Remember that. It can be on a daily, weekly, hourly, it doesn't matter. Yeah. So you really don't have tools for continuous development, which we understand, which we just saw. You make use of Git and GitHub, right? You have tools in the continuous integration, right, where the coders commit changes. Yeah. And basically, this is the practice where developers require to commit changes to the source code more frequently. Yeah. Okay. But every commit that is built will allow you to detect problems if they are present in the code. Correct? This not only involves compilation, but it also includes code review, unit testing, integration testing, packaging, etc. and etc. Now, moving on to the third phase, that's continuous testing of the life cycle. We have continuous testing. Now, this is the stage where developers, where the developed software is continuously tested. Yeah, is continuously tested for bugs, for issues, and for continuous testing. Automation testing tools are used. Automation testing tools are used like Selenium, TestNG, JUnit are some of the most commonly tools used in continuous testing phase. Yeah. To understand more about it, what do these tools really do? They allow quality assurances to test multiple code bases thoroughly in parallel to ensure that there are no flaws in the functionality, right? There are no flaws in the functionality. That's what continuous testing is what about. Yeah. Now, moving on to the next phase. That is, we have continuous deployment. Now, this is a stage where the code is deployed to the production servers. It is really important to ensure that the code is correctly deployed on all the servers, because there has to be no sort of errors in real time. No sort of errors. We cannot afford at this point of time, having passed the continuous testing phase, right? That is exactly why everyone in DevOps practices continuous deployment. And finally, we have continuous monitoring. Very crucial stage of the cycle, where you continuously monitor the performance of your application. Finally, this is I feel this is the most important phase. I mean, you can go ahead, you can plan it out, you can integrate it, you can test it, you can deploy it. On the other hand, this is the phase where your application, your infra, everything needs to be monitored, isn't it? I mean, you can deploy it, but at the same time, within an hour's time, if you have real issues, if you do not bring in monitoring, it doesn't make sense there. It doesn't make sense there, isn't it? So vital information about the use of the software is recorded here. And this information is eventually processed to recognize the proper functionality of the application. The system errors, such as low memory, server not reachable, etc., are resolved only in this continuous monitoring phase. Low CPU usage, you have this alerting system, right? Low bandwidth, network issues, all of these get sorted out in the continuous monitoring phase. all of these. So you see the complete life cycle is made in such a way that it is fully automated. You make use of tools, you make use of software, less human intervention. The code gets corrected there and there itself. The commits are pushed into the continuous integration tools. They are deployed, so on and so forth. The continuous life cycle moves on. That is what is the level. That is where the DevOps life cycle plays a role. Yeah. Now, so we understand, no, monitoring gets you the vital information about the user software. Because this is eventually processed to recognize the proper functionality of the application, the system errors, all of these issues, right, are resolved in this phase. That is what continuous monitoring phase is. Also, the root cause of any issue is determined in this phase. So what it really does is it maintains the security and the availability of these services. Also, if there are any network issues, those are also resolved in this phase. Basically helps us automatically fix the problems as soon as they are detected. Now, these 5 DevOps stages that we just discussed are carried out on loop continuously, as I said, till you achieve the desired product quality. Therefore, almost most of the major software companies, development companies have shifted to DevOps for building the products. Now, this is where Grafana comes into picture. It is basically a continuous monitoring tool that will help you to visualize your real-time data in an application, so you can visualize your data and you can understand how it's working in real time. So before we move on, let us understand, why do we need continuous monitoring in the first place? Yeah, why do we need continuous monitoring in the first place? Okay, there are 4 major reasons as to why we need to practice continuous monitoring. The first and obvious reason is it allows us to have better network visibility, transparency. Continuous monitoring offers DevOps teams clarity on the state of the infrastructure by automatically collecting and analyzing the data. That is to reflect possible outages, right, and important trends. It also facilitates rapid responses. Which is the primary aspect of continuous monitoring. Because, I mean, having deployed and we are into a phase where it's all automated, the responses have to be fast enough. There's no point if there's a problem in the code and it gets notified after say a few days or few weeks, it doesn't get justified here, right? That's the primary aspect of continuous monitoring, right? Implementing an alert system that immediately notifies the right people the minute the incident emerges. So this basically enables timely response to security threats or functional stopgaps, and therefore minimizing damages, eventually allowing faster restoration of the system to optimal operational levels. The third reason is it minimizes the system downtime. Now, consistent system monitoring and quick necessary alerts help maintain system uptime by raising the alarm when there is a service outage or any application performance issues. The fourth reason is it helps in assisting with healthy business performance reduction in system downtime. Also, obviously, minimizing the negative impact on the customer experience, thereby safeguarding the organization against losses in revenue or, of course, credibility. Continuous monitoring tools can be used to track user reactions to software updates, which is useful in several teams like development team quality assurance, sales, marketing, etc. Yeah. Now, that is another aspect of Grafana. That is one more aspect where you gather. We all know data is the new oil, isn't it? The more data you collect, the more visualizations, the more it can help your business more and more. Yeah. So now that we know why we need continuous monitoring, let's understand what is continuous monitoring. What is continuous monitoring? Continuous monitoring is also sometimes referred to as continuous control monitoring, which is an automated process by which DevOps or any other personnel can observe, detect compliance issues and security threats during each phase of the DevOps pipeline. Let me repeat this. It is an automated process by which one can observe and detect compliance issues and security threats during each phase of the pipeline. Outside DevOps, the processes may be expanded to do the same for any segment, whether it's IT infrastructure in question. Also, it basically helps teams or organizations monitor, detect, study key relevant metrics, and find ways to resolve the said issues in real time. As we've already seen in our previous slides, monitoring comes in the end of the DevOps pipeline. Now, once the software is released into production, continuous monitoring will notify developers, quality assurance teams in the event of specific issues arising in production environment. So, what does continuous monitoring really help? It basically assists the organizations, DevOps teams in particular, with procuring real-time data from public and hybrid environments. This is especially useful in implementing and fortifying various security measures, incident response, threat assessments, computers and databases for root cause analysis. It also helps provide general feedback on the overall health of the setup, including offsite networks and deployed software applications. Now, moving on, let us check on the continuous monitoring tools in DevOps, right? Okay. So we are looking at what kind of tools are available in the market today. Yeah, having talked about the importance, having talked about what continuous monitoring is, let's look at continuous monitoring tools in DevOps. Yeah, now there are several DevOps tools for monitoring the ecosystem, obviously, which helps both development and operation teams that is to work effectively together. The first one in the monitoring tools, it should come to us as no surprise that we're starting a discussion of DevOps tools with a focus on the set that we know that what is monitoring tools, right? So a good monitoring platform lets you monitor infrastructure and application performance, whether on-prem or in the cloud or across containerized environments. So you have a complete visibility into every system all the time. Some of the tools are Sensui, Nagoys, Prometheus, right? Now, Sensui is flexible and scalable telemetry and service health checking solution for monitoring servers, containers, container services, application functions, and connected devices. Prometheus, on the other hand, relies on the pull method to collect information with a built-in database. Nagoys is legacy monitoring tool that introduced monitoring practices to a generation of operators. The next one on the list is we have DevOps configuration tools. DevOps configuration management tools. Now, configuration management tools allow you to automate the provisioning and deployment of systems and enforce desired configurations and remediate configuration drift by modeling your infrastructure as code. You can apply software delivery practices like version control, automated testing, and continuous delivery to infrastructure and applications, of course. Some of the tools are Ansible, Chef, Puppet. Ansible is written in Python, which is agentless, of course, very popular, utilizes imperative approach. Chef, on the other hand, is written in Ruby, which also relies on imperative configuration approach. Puppet, on the other hand, relies on a declarative configuration management approach using a domain-specific language and on an agent master architecture. Moving on, we have DevOps alerting tools, right? Now, these provide both actionable and informational system alerts and can be customized to fit the complexities of the system. Example, your alerting system needs to be sensitive enough to cover an outage, but not so sensitive that you're catching frequent and unnecessary problems, that users are really not going to see. There are some alerting tools like PagerDuty, ServiceNow, Slack, PagerDuty. Yeah, PagerDuty is an on-call management system with add-ons for analytics events, intelligence, and automated incident response. ServiceNow, on the other hand, utilizes automated workflows for ITSM as well as customer service, business processes. And Slack, on the other hand, lets you consolidate alerts into the same platform you use for group chats and collaboration, right? Okay. Next on the list, we have metric storage. Metric storage, right? So once you've automated configuration management, alerting, and monitoring, you'll have a whole lot of data at your disposal to learn from. Whole lot of data. Now, the challenge is to how do you securely store and analyze it? You obviously need a storage system that lets you aggregate and learn from system capacity, user behavior, service levels, security risks, and much more. This is exactly where metric storage comes into the picture. The different types are InfluxDB, Splunk. InfluxDB is simply a time series database that's suited for long-term storage. Splunk, very popular, uses a search engine database model to store and query data. AWS, on the other hand, supports a wide variety range of storage purposes, including relational, non-relational databases, right? A data warehouse for analytics, a time series database, a ledger database to store transactions, and much more. So in this session, along with Grafana, we will also learn how to configure InfluxDB to get real-time data. Yeah, so we will try and do that. Moving on to the last type of continuous monitoring tools in DevOps, we have visualization tools. Now, a visualization tool might be considered essence of your DevOps dual chain for monitoring. You get basically combine all of your data here and finally visualize it. That is, display it on a customizable dashboard. What really visualization tools do is they provide context and meaning that allow you to track changes and improvements over time. They also give management a real-time view that helps guide strategic decisions. Customization options makes it easy for team members to design and share their own dashboards. Grafana can be used on top of a variety of different data stores, including Graphite InfluxDB, Elasticsearch, and now that we know Grafana is a visualization DevOps tools, let's move on to the next part of the session. Yeah, let's move on to the next part of the session. Let's understand what Grafana is. Introduction to Grafana. So first, let us understand what is Grafana in the first place. So it's a multi-platform, open source, analytics, and interactive visualization web application. It basically provides charts, graphs, and alerts for the web when connected to supported data sources. It is expandable through a plugin system, allows you to query, visualize, alerts, and understand your metrics no matter where they are stored. You create, explore, and share dashboards with your teams. Foster a data-driven culture. Yeah, it has become the world's most popular technology, which is used to compose observability dashboards with everything from Prometheus and Graphite metrics to logs and application data to power plants and beehives. Right? Let's check out some of the features of Grafana. Plethora. Grafana has a plethora of visualization options to help you understand your data very, very beautifully. Yeah. Basically, the power to represent it in visualization format, right from maps to histograms, geomaps. It has a plethora of visualization options. Basically help you understand your data beautifully. And of course, the second feature is alerts, right? So seamlessly define alerts where it makes sense. Yeah, define the alerts, and while you're in the data, define thresholds visually and get notified via Slack, PagerDuty, and much more. You can also unify in Grafana, brings your data together to get better context, Yeah, mix them together in the same dashboard. Now, supports dozens of databases natively. And the best part is that you can mix them together in the same dashboard, right? That is what makes it completely and mostly sought after monitoring tool. Yeah, Alex, there was a slide. Okay. Let me answer this. It's coming up. Here you go. So next, it is completely open source. Grafana gives you various options. It's completely open source and backed by a vibrant community. Use Grafana on cloud or easily install it on any platform, right? On any platform. Next important feature is that Grafana can extend and you can discover hundreds of dashboards and plugins in the official library of Grafana. Because of the passion and the momentum of their community, new ones are added almost every week. I repeat this, yeah, every week. So you can discover hundreds of dashboards. The plugins are readily available. Okay. Now, the last feature of Grafana is collaboration, right? You can bring everyone together and share data and dashboards across teams. It basically empowers users and helps foster a data-driven culture. With all of this said, let's dive into the demo piece. Yeah, I hope you were able to understand some features of Grafana, how it is, why it is so popular, what role does it play in the entire DevOps lifecycle, right? Okay. Unfortunately, what has happened is my Grafana has just crashed some time back, so I will not be able to show you the demo right now, but I will definitely assist you how it is to be installed. Yeah. So what I've basically done is, I've prepared some commands where I'm running Ubuntu as a virtual machine in my virtual box, right? So I'm using a Ubuntu 20.04 machine as in virtual box right now, right? And I am using Firefox in it, right? Just to check up the configuration. I'm using the terminal here, and I tried setting up Grafana here. Since it's all open source, the instructions are readily available on the net, readily available within few clicks. I can set it up, right? And the prerequisite for Grafana is you'll have to set up an engineering server so that you can test it out. You can take help of visualizations and graphs, right? And Grafana, as you can check up the port, you can check up the port on which Grafana is running. Usually it is 3000, right? So once Grafana is installed, you can check it up by giving this command. At this point of time, Nginx was already installed, right? I somehow couldn't manage to install Grafana. I was trying to do that. I ran into some problems, which I will do so after this webinar. But otherwise, if all goes well, you will see the dashboard here. You will see the admin control dashboard here. Let me show that to you. Yeah, here you go. So once you have installed and once you've set up Grafana on your system, right, you will be taken to this page. It will run on port 3000. Usually it will run on 3000, right? You normally give admin as the username and admin as the password once you log in, before you log in rather, right? And then after you enter into the Grafana system, you will then be asked to configure the database, configure the dashboards, collect all the related data, right? And you will be asked to configure the different types of dashboards accordingly, right? So first and foremost thing, download it onto your system, right? If you're using it locally, or you can use a cloud version as well. If I have to show you the cloud version, I've also set it up. Yeah, I don't have it right now. Okay, no problem. So you can use a cloud version as well, right? Assuming that you are going to test it out in-house, set it up on one of your VMs using VirtualBox. I typically make use of Ubuntu for all my trial applications, right? Set it up on port 3000. You will be taken to this login page. Login as the username will be typically admin, password will be admin. Follow the set of instructions, right? And you will then be guided to set up the database. It supports a variety of databases, right? And dashboards, correct? Okay. So these are the steps to download Grafana onto your system. Ensure that the service is up and running, right? Ensure you've started the service. Ensure that it is up and running. Ensure that it starts up after every reboot, right? Now, once that's done, you will be taken to the login page. Login as, and the URL for you to log in will be obviously localhost:3000. Localhost:3000. Username, of course, is admin. Password is also admin, right? Now, if you want a new password and you don't want it to be admin, just type in the new password and confirm it and submit it, right? So you can also set that up accordingly. So once you've logged in, it's going to be, I mean, it's very interesting because you just got to pick up boxes. You can really play around, right, with these panels. You can view them, you can edit them, and most importantly, you can share them. Yeah, you can duplicate them, you can remove them. So all of these panels you can move around. Yeah, this is a very, very interesting feature. Once you've logged in, you can scroll down. You can also see you can see the guides. You can see blogs. You can get the latest updates, right? That are changes that are occurring every day, right? List of dashboards on the left hand side. You can edit them. You can share them. You can do whatever with it. So there's one dashboard that I had worked upon. That was a world map dashboard, and it basically, so if you want to return back to the home page, you can, there are links. It's a typical web-based tool otherwise. Thank you all for having me here.